Hey, soul sister, welcome to another episode of Midlife Love Out Loud. Oh my God, I've got Amber. Oh, shoot, I'm trying to get your name right. I'm going to keep this. I'm not editing this out. Kuileimailani. Did I do it? Kuileimailani.
You know, the love is there. The love is there. It's Kuileimailani.
Kuileimailani. Oh, and we're real people. We're real people with very unique names. Moon, a little easier than Kuileimailani. Bottom line is, I have Amber Kuileimailani Bonnici. What a name in the house. And I am so excited to share her with you because she's such a rock star. She is the founder and CEO of Woman Unleashed. She mentors women to awaken and share their creative gifts through her retreats and coaching programs. And Amber is the host of the Woman Unleashed retreat. We're going to be talking about that later. It's an online event that's gathered over 100,000 women from all around the world. And her work has been featured in the UN Commission on the Status of Women and Women's Rights, an artist's perspective. And using the feminine powers of intuition, creativity, and embodiment, she mentors women to create the lives they desire and reawaken their radiance. Don't we need that? Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the beautiful work that you're doing on the planet.
Oh, thank you for the lovely introduction. So happy to be here, Junie.
And there's a part of me, it's like, I always talk about like the risk manager and the inner critic, and the inner critic's going, yeah, shut up, practice more. Yeah, shut up, practice more. And then there's this other voice that's going, hey, we sometimes slip and fall. We get back on the horse. It's all good. And let's just dive in. Let's just dive in, because intuition and creativity and tapping into that, it's just, those are resources that are so important. And here's the thing, people are so busy. I mean, there's like right now, there's so much going on. And here's this woman who wants to open to love and start over. And creativity may not necessarily be at the forefront of what she's thinking she might want. So I would like to ask you, why do you believe creativity is one of the most important things women can do with everything that's going on in the world and everything that they're wanting to manifest? Because it's sometimes not on somebody's list, let alone top 10 list.
What are you talking about? Like doodling is at the top of the list under like all the other things? No. Okay. So here's the truth is what is at the top of the list, or if it isn't, should be, is your radiance, your energy, your aliveness, especially if you are looking for love and to attract someone. Like, there's like there's a difference between being like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy. There are all these things going on. Like, oh, I've got all these things, like, or which we see a lot with creativity. If you're not creating, depression, sadness. So there's that part of it because it's being suppressed. A part of you is being suppressed. There's the part of you feeling stressed out because you're not using your natural creative ways to express, right? And so when you're not doing that, then you're not who you really are. Right. And then you're going to be attracting someone who you don't want. Right. So creativity is really this invitation into being you. Right. How can you be more you and I want to say into this piece of creativity that you might think creativity is like doodling or painting or, maybe dancing, but it's everything. It's the way you dress yourself. It's like the scents you put on your body. It's the way you do your hair. It's the way that you eat and walk. It's like you are art. And so that's part of what this place is inviting in, like, yeah, you as beauty, you as art, and then seeing what you attract from that space.
That is so true. and it's like everybody comes to me, it's like, tell me the dating tips and, help me unplug from the past. And all of that's really important. And what you're talking about is energy and openness and tapping into like the juiciness of life. And when we don't have that access and that radiance moving through us, that can really spoil what's possible when it comes to dating. That's for sure. So I love that we're having this topic because it's so different. People are not talking about this at all. And I'm so glad we are. And everybody's saying, yes, but there's so much on my plate. And I want life to be easier. And I know you talk about a creative cycle, like you teach something called the creative cycle. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how people can actually use it to make life a little bit more easeful?
Yeah. And you know what? I'll also tell you how to use it for love. Okay. Because I know
that's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for. So it's like this creative cycle can be used for anything, right? So it can be used to create a painting. It can be used to create a relationship. It can be used to create a job, like whatever it is that you're feeling called to create. It's the same thing. And there are these 4 different pieces of the cycle that we use. The first part is kind of what we touched on a little bit briefly, is energy, right? You're not creating anything unless you have the energy to do it, right? Have you ever had this experience where you're like, I mean, I think about when my kids were really young. My kids were young and I didn't have time. I mean, I was exhausted. It's like, I'm waking up in the night and it's like, oh, I want to do these things, but it was like, I didn't have the actual physical energy to do it. But okay. This first part of the creating can be either you don't have the energy because it's like, you might have suppressed it. You might have not opened a flow. You might be giving to everyone else and not to yourself. So there might not be much there in your well. Or the other thing is that your energy is going everywhere because you've got so many different ideas and you're doing this and this and this, and you're bouncing all over and you actually aren't focusing your energy in one direction. And so you're so scattered that you can't even get enough energy to take a step. Okay. That's for our sisters that are like, I don't know what I want. I'd be, this is good or this is good. It's like, okay, no, let's go ahead and just like amp up our energy. So this first step is about noticing what fills your energy and what drains your energy. And not just what, but who. I'll say, especially with dating, who fills your energy? Like where do you feel filled up? Where do you feel drained? Right? Those are great indicators. So that's the first step, energy. Okay. Yeah. Next step, any questions about energy so far, Jeannie?
No, that's great. Yeah, keep going.
Okay, keep going. Okay, step 1. Step 2 is when we start to move into what we call planning. Okay, this is the place where you move into more structure. This is where, for example, if you're creating, like if I was going to create a painting, my structure would be my canvas or my schedule. If you're dating, your structure might be like, okay, I'm going to go on this many dates a week, or I'm going this is how I'm going to set myself up for a date, or, whatever. You have like a structure. It's not just based on like whatever you feel like doing it when, right? Because if you want to create something, there needs to be fuel behind it that's more than just what you feel like doing, right? Because I can't tell you how many times it's like, I'm inspired and I'm like, I'm not. I mean, I'm not. And if my creativity or my relationship with my husband was dependent on how I felt, I'm just saying, relationship wouldn't be happening. Okay.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is people have so much going on and they actually may not have that energy. They actually may not be in that flow and they're juggling all those things. So there's something to be said about, well, it's a great idea, but
Totally. And so then when we talk about creativity or anything, it's like, it doesn't require a lot of time, but does require consistency. Okay. Yeah. So like even, when I'm going to say my kids are young, because those keep popping in my head. I don't know why, but when I had 2 boys that were like under the age of 2. And if you can imagine, I didn't really have much time, right? It was like running around with the kids, except during sacred nap time. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun,
and
dun,
I knew that there was this little window. I at least had 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Where both kids would magically be napping at the same time. And that is when I would write, or that's when I would paint, to fill myself up instead of what I had been doing before when I got really burnt out, which was, oh my gosh, the kids are napping. Now I can do the dishes and I can like do the laundry and all of these list of things that I was never getting done. Yeah. So it's like even 5 minutes, 10 minutes, on whatever that thing is that's dedicated towards what you're working on. So if you're dedicating towards love, like what is that one thing you're doing I'm sure you're following Junie, and so she probably has a plan and a structure for you to follow. So I'd be following that structure.
Okay, so there's the energy, and then there's the structure, and I love that, because there's a saying in 12 steps: plan to fail, fail to plan to fail. And if you don't have any structure built in, it just a lot of times slips through the cracks. So I'm hearing we have to have some kind of container of intention to actually make these things happen.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then once you have a container, then you have a place for the flow to happen. So that's step 3 is flow. This is where divine insights start to come in. This is where, ideas pop in that you didn't know of. This is when you're in creating. This is when the creative flow happens, where you're like, oh, I'll choose this color, or, oh, this lyric sounds amazing, or, oh, I never thought of this, right? So that's in terms of creativity. But the same thing happens with dating or with relationships, where it's like, you feel like this inner nudge. This is the place of intuition, that place of deep listening, where it's like, oh, maybe I should answer this, or maybe I should walk into the store, or maybe I should, it's like those little nudges, right? This is that place of flow. And flow is really about support. Okay. So this is a place of divine support, knowing that, honey, you are never alone, that you have a whole host. You have divine plus all the divine and all the unseen realms supporting you, plus support from those around you, right? So really putting people in, making sure that you have girlfriends that are like, if you are looking for a certain type of relationship, they're going to back you up, and they're going to be like holding that vision for you. Even if you get like cranky and think it's not working, like someone's gonna be like, no, like you got this, like I think about, like, I've been in a relationship with my husband, we've been married over 20 years now. And it's very important for me that I have sister relationships that, like, if something's going wonky with my husband, they're not telling me, oh, what an asshole. I'm sorry, I cuss, but
feel free. So do I.
I don't know. But I have people that are being like, wow, okay, they listen, and then they redirect me, because they are for my partnership with my partner.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah. They're not for listening or like for drama or for, any of that. Right. So so part of what makes flow happen is the support.
So important. And it's, hey, who we surround ourselves with, we become. And it's so interesting, the conversations we have with different people and who's in our court. So that makes so much sense. And I love that you brought that in. All right, here's a question. I know there's at least one soul sister listening going, I'm not creative, or I was creative when I was a kid. I have no idea how to tap into that. And so here's this juicy, energetic 1, 2, 3 step process, but maybe she's like, I have no idea where to start. How do you start? How do you really take that step? Is there something you could offer to her?
Yeah. Thank you for saying this, because it's really, I hear it all the time. So here's what I want to say is, you are born creative. You're born creative. That is your birthright. That is who you are. You came in creative. When you were a little kid, you grabbed crayons, you didn't even think about it, right? This is born in you. When they did a study that showed that in second grade, like kids in second grade are like, I don't know, 8 years old, 7 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
That 95% of them believe they're creative. Okay. By the time they get to high school, only 5% believe they're creative.
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. But this is what I want to say to our women, is that you are creative, and it has been taught out of you. You have believed the lie that you are not creative, which is total BS. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just first want to, like, any sort of like that, I just want to say you already are, and it's okay. Right. And it's really common. It's really, really common. Okay. And so part of this is this invitation to reconnect to your creative spirit. There's this spark within you that already knows how to create, that already knows how to play. Junie, just like you work with the sovereign or with the risk manager, like there's an inner creative spirit that already knows all these things. Okay. So, but when you first start, I like to look for things that are really, really easy. And that, again, we work with energy. So if you're trying to develop a relationship with your creative spirit, what energizes you? Like what creative thing could be fun? And maybe it's like going in the garden. Maybe it's the way that you like organize the food on your plate, when you're cooking. Maybe it's, as we're having this conversation, instead of using your regular pen, picking up a colored pencil, right? We don't have to start big, but just giving yourself permission to play is really where you start. Playtime.
Yes, yes. And I love that you're talking about play, because as you're talking, I'm thinking it is about being playful, and that creative energy is playful, and it has been taught out of us. And it's about, I always use the word reclamation. It is our time to reclaim aspects of us. And one of them is our creativity. I'm loving this conversation. Again, creativity, to me, it's I think about the second chakra, that juicy belly where our sensuality, our sexuality, our life force is. And we've been so cut off from that. And you mentioned that when we're younger, we were so tapped in. We were like, yeah, bring me the colors. I want to draw purple clouds and make flowers and pictures of my house in rainbows. And then it's just, do your science homework. There are more important things, young lady. And of course, that's the shadow work. It's like, we're going to, pointing the finger and, be something else. You mentioned that, and I'm just curious, are there other ways that block women from feeling this creative juice? Are there other reasons that stop women from really accessing this vital energy?
Yeah, absolutely. So really what we're talking about is creative liberation, right? We're liberating our creativity again. And it might have been locked away from lots of different reasons, right? So it can be, like for me, my second grade teacher made a comment that made me not want to create for, 25 years, right? That it's like, we're so susceptible to what other people say. And there's some point, like I was talking about things getting taught out of us, that for a lot of us, we get this idea of what creativity is and is not, right? So creativity is, if someone can draw a face really pretty, that's creativity. Creativity is not the way I move my hips when I'm walking, right? Okay, so we start to think about, this is what this is and this is what this is not. So that is one thing. Obviously, this is a big one, is perfectionism. That stops a lot of people from creating, because this place of just playing and letting it be experimental. We've kind of lost that, and we just immediately want things to be beautiful and perfect. But for most of us, if we've stopped creating when we were younger, like in a certain medium, that's where our creativity is stunted, right? So if you stopped drawing bodies when you were 9 years old, you probably still draw bodies like you did when you were 9 years old, Like the other subjects, we kept continuing on, right? So perfectionism can stop you as well. So yeah, I'd say other people are the big one. The voice in your head, what tells you if something is creative and what isn't, and then perfectionism. Those are some big ones.
Yeah, makes sense. And so here's the soul sister wanting to call in a soulmate and to really open to love. And I'm curious, what might you offer to her? I mean, you've been offering all these golden nuggets about creativity and flow and juiciness. Is there something like maybe a first step when it comes to moving toward that new person, that dating experience, that creative energy that she might tap into to get that process going?
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm so glad you asked that question. That's such a great question, Judy. So here's the thing is, who knows how you have your own process about where you're looking for love, but you can use creative energy, creative potential, this creative fire within you to ignite your intent, to magnetize your partner to you. And
yes.
So when you use your creativity to do that, it's just a whole other level. So let me give you some examples. Okay. Let's say that you are someone who loves visual arts. Okay. Collage. I mean, that's very simple, easy thing to do. You just you can collage different images of something that actually evokes a feeling within you. Okay. If you like music, you can create a certain playlist that's like my person playlist. And like when you listen to it, you get into this place of like, I'm magnetizing my person to me, right? If you're a dancer, it's like looking at like, okay, what are ways that you can move your body to get you into that space where it's like, this is my person, right? Or what clothes can you wear to adorn yourself? So it's looking at how to use creative process, but then as it's thinking of as like almost like a key that you're putting in a door to unlock a whole other level of magnetism that you can attract. You want, and it's totally fun to do it too. Like you don't have to do all the serious things to attract someone. You can do fun things too.
I love it. I love it. Do fun things. When I work with my clients, it's one of the things I work with them with is, what are you doing before you get on the phone call? What are you doing before you go on the date? What are you doing before you write your profile? Instead of looking at it as drudgery or feeling like it's a chore or, oh, I'm so nervous. It's like, what if you put on your favorite music? What if you moved your body? What if you have your vision board and you're meditating to looking at all that you're calling in? It's just such a different shift of energy. So I love that you're bringing in all these pieces. All right, sister. Each solstice, you host the Woman Unleashed retreat. Oh my God, I can't wait to participate with this. It's a free event. Can you share a little bit more? Because I know there's so many women that are going to want to participate in this.
Absolutely.
So, and why the solstice? Because that's also like, why choose the solstice? Because that's another piece of it too.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much around solstice. I live here in Hawaii, and we attune with the energy of the land, the earth, and solstice are holy times for us. Solstice, equinox, cross quarter days. But the solstice is a time when you think about it, when the earth she kind of pauses herself, right? You find yourself, right? You've been swinging to it's the lightest point or it's the darkest point, depending on where you are in the world. But it's this invitation that I've used for years to pause, to reassess, to look at, okay, what's important in my life? What am I creating that feels good? Where am I creating that things don't feel in alignment? Like, where have I started down the path where I'm doing what other people have told me to do? And I'm like, this is not what I want to be doing, right? So we created this online retreat. Now we're on the 16th season. So this has been since 2014.
Wow.
I know it's been a long time, since 2014, when I had this idea of like, we should do a retreat online. And so we literally have people come. We have retreat guides from all over the world doing everything from mini workshops, and we do like art, meditation, yoga. We're doing things to help get you in your body, get you into your creative spirit, tap you back into that passion, that flow, and to help you pause. Because as we talked about in the very beginning, there's so much happening on the outside that it's like, to tap into what you really want, you do just need, even if it's a little bit, a pause.
Yeah.
To really listen.
Oh, so sister, take a breath into that. To pause, to listen. We're so taught to keep going, or, oh, I've been single so long, I really need to find someone. Let me go on 100,000 dates, And there's a saying, and I think it's the Navy SEALs, to go fast, you need to go slow, make it smooth so you can go fast. It's not about just jumping in and going fast. You got to go slow to make it smooth, then you can go fast. And so this sounds like the perfect pause to reset, to reboot, to go within, and to tap into some of this energy that is so necessary, not just because you want to find a partner, but because you really, truly want to have a magnificent life full of juiciness. So I'm going to totally encourage you to join this retreat. All of Amber's information is going to be in the show notes. The link to the retreat, as you said, is free, right? I'm correct about that, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So there's absolutely no reason not to go. Oh, that's a beautiful gift. It's such a beautiful gift. So is there anything else you wanted to share before we wrap up for today?
Yeah, just really briefly we went over the creative cycle, which was of energy, of structure planning, flow and support. And the last step is that of focusing and finishing, right? So many times we'll have so many ideas and we'll try to do them all, like we mentioned in the very beginning, what we call shiny object syndrome, where you're like, oh, there's this person and there's this person, or, maybe for dating or in like, oh, I want this, oh, maybe I want this, maybe I want this. And so part of what, when we're creating, is this invitation to take the energy we have and to channel it in one direction, right? And that also, when we talk about pause or going slow, what you were mentioning is like, that's that place it's the place of sovereign. It's the place of like, okay, what is my vision and what steps are important for me to complete what I start, to not let the voices in my head take me out from telling me that it's not going to work, but to really trust and follow through with what I was originally called to do.
Yes. So we are talking so much more than just finding a soulmate. It really is a heart calling and sounds so amazing. And again, I love the word unleashed. So Soul Sister, this is an invitation for you to slow down, tap in, and join the Woman Unleashed event. And I hope you're taking notes, because all of this is so important for your day-to-day juiciness. Amber, such good stuff here. Thank you so much for being here.
Really my pleasure to love you up and like just telling our sisters, create on, like unleash that part of yourself that is magnificent, that is magnetic, that is going to attract your partner. Right?
Yes. All right, Soul Sister, that's our episode for today. If you are watching on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so you don't miss anything. Click that little bell. There's lots of wonderful episodes coming up. And if you're listening on Apple, on one of the audio podcasts, like it, review it, share it. This is how we're going to help all of our sisters learn what's possible in love and life. So until we meet again, mwah.